Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Retro Stash Repairs. Today I'm going to be showing y'all guys how to make a Game Boy macro using a macro boxy pixel front plate shell, and as well using a Helder's macro flex amp to make it easier. And this mod completely removes the need for that resistor that you need on top, usually on macro mods. What I'm also going to be trying out is making a dual speaker for stereo sound. Give that a shot, see if that works. I already basically grinded this out so the other speaker can fit right here. I already pre-fit it so it would work, but the only thing is to try it out. And previously I had this built in an older mod back then when these hadn't come out yet, so I'm gonna give that a shot and see how it turns out, see if it sounds better. I'm using some Nintendo Switch speakers that I have right here already pre-wired, as well as the length. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started by taking this apart. Alright, so usually that has more screws, but I guess I had already previously messed with this, so it only had a couple. I believe I will have to clean one of these two triggers. I believe it was, the left. I don't think it was working, so I'll have to give that a clean. If not, I'll have to replace it. Hopefully I won't have to replace it. What I'm going to do is, remove these small wires and then disconnect this as well. And I will even be using the screen because I have one pre-installed right here as well. And I put it on flush with the LCD itself to remove the digitizer, because it looks a lot better without it. And since it was sitting a little lower when I made it the first time, I added some foam backing to it, and that made it pretty flush with the mod itself. That turned out pretty good. The thing I decided to take apart, and I had it apart for a while, is because the board I had used, the triggers didn't work, and I remember taking it apart, cleaning the trigger buttons, and they still didn't work, so I had to replace them. And I decided, well, instead of trying to fix that one, I'll just go ahead and redo one with this Helder's flex amp. Then you'll need to disconnect the screen ribbon cable on the corner. As well as the screen. Even if you're still going to reuse it, you still have to disconnect it to work on it. And I'm going to be using the white buttons as well. That's another reason why I'm going to use these buttons, just to change up the look of it. I did plan using the trigger white buttons as well, but I'm just going to reuse the black ones because these are pretty dirty. Where are they at? Right here. You probably can't tell us on the camera as much, but you can definitely tell in person. So I'm just going to keep the trigger buttons black. And then you won't be needing the X and the Y. On the basic mod, you would still need the X and the Y just to fill in that space, unless you fill it yourself with some, epoxy filler or something. But that's not the case today with my mod. You would usually just remove this entire top shell with the screen, and then either keep these and put it like a little light tube or just a solid tube across, or you can either just remove these and sand it down, and you'd essentially have the same mod as well. But that basically is like the cheapest, which I actually did make before as well, the very first time I was trying it out. Alright, well, here's the board. I'm going to go ahead and clean that left trigger. Hopefully it works after this. Alright, before I cleaned that, I was actually forgetting, or almost forgetting, that I have to remove this top ribbon cable part for this mod, because the speaker sits right here flush, so it's better to remove that. The ZIF connector. Go ahead and turn on my hot air station. And since I'm not really going to reuse that, I don't have to bother about hitting it from the top or anything to preserve that ZIF connector. As you can see, here's what happens when you put direct heat on it. Just completely melts it. That's why if I was going to reuse it or put it on another motherboard, then I'd definitely have to heat it from underneath. Go ahead and clean that with IPA. Go ahead and clean it with some compressed air. Hopefully that did the trick. Before I forget, I need to put the rubber part back in. Oh yeah, and if you're going to remove that ZIF connector as well, you also need to remove this. If not, it will completely melt this part right here. Alright, well, that takes care of that. Now I'm going to move on to installing the flex amp. If I remember correctly, it goes along these right here. See how it fits just perfectly. As well as with these two right here and this one down here. So get my soldering iron ready. Alright, now that that's heated up, what I'm probably going to do is just cut like a tiny piece of the solder, just so I can set it on there. Do want to flux that area up though. or each pad. Alright, that should do it. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-solder these pads right here. That way I can start putting on the speakers. So black goes to negative and red goes to positive. And go ahead and make these the same length. I think I'm going to go ahead and solder them on just how they are, and then worry about, how they're going to go placed after that. Just not really realizing I might have needed to make these wires longer. So yeah, I'm gonna have to redo this probably. Instead of just replacing wires, I'm just gonna add a little bit of wire. Maybe add Kapton tape, whatever it needs, just so it won't short. Pretty sure I covered that red wire. Don't want it touching that metal on that screen. Alright, what I'm going to go ahead and do is put some Kapton tape as well on the back. Alright, and see if I'm able to get that in. Like I said, I'm going to be using the white buttons. And then on this one, on this membrane, I had just cut it just because it was going to be in the way of that speaker once I put it in there. Alright, I think it's ready for the screws now. And with this boxy pixel front plate, it comes with its own screws that you have to use. The original ones won't fit on this aluminum front plate. The only thing left now is to put the trigger buttons back on there. And then after that, the back part of the shell, and then it'll pretty much be done. Make sure your power buttons in the right orientation, as well as the volume slider. Put the cover on there. I don't even have the right cover, but oh well. It's a glossy one, and then the finish on the back of the DS is a matte. I'm not really too worried about that right now. Yeah, that pretty much does it. Now it's just, the only thing left is to test it. Hopefully it works. Never tried this mod before, so hopefully it turned out fine. Sound work. Oh, right off the bat, I can tell it sounds way better. Right, now that that finished, I need to test the game out. Let's use Super Mario. Wait, what? Not sure if it's not detecting the game. Said a DS pack, not an actual game. I literally tested the DS Lite, and it was reading the game. Now it's not, so I don't know what's going on. Oh, there we go. Wow, that is way louder. Turn down the volume a little bit, see if... Yeah, both speakers are working. That's awesome. yeah, so looks like it's working all fine. It's pretty awesome. And it sounds amazing as well, way better. So I highly recommend that Flex Amp mod by Helder. And yeah, so that's definitely the best mod you can get now. And if you even do want to do the extra work, you can have dual speakers, like stereo sound. Sounds way better. So go ahead and turn the volume down. That pretty much does it for this video today. If y'all like this content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell button so you won't miss out any of my future content. Thank you all for watching. Alright, right before ending the video completely, here's a comparison with the Game Boy Micro. I can barely hear the Game Boy Micro sound. It's playing the same music. And yeah, this is way louder. And I believe, before the Flex Amp, it probably sounded the same or even worse than the Micro. You can barely hear the sound. Especially, when you have those mods with where the speaker's in the back or something. But yeah, that improves this model way more. And I'm pretty happy with it, how it looks and everything. So that's pretty much it.